Hello everyone, this is part 6 of What If Naruto Abandons Konoha and Becomes the Dragon Sage, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Land of Lightning, Island of Death, Jinchuriki Sanctum. Hell yeah. Naruto cheered as he returned to the land of the living. What happened? Yugito asked. A lot happened, Naruto responded and bumped fists with Kiribi. I see, so that's what happened, got it. There's peacefulness in you now, Kiribi smirked. What happened with the Kyuubi? Did you do it? Yugito questioned. That's great, especially when that happened and you did that. Oh Naruto, did you really do that? Kiribi laughed. Yeah, it's true, Naruto laughed back. Just tell me what happened already. I don't understand when you talk about this and that happening. Are you doing this on purpose? Yugito shouted angrily. You are, aren't you? That much I get. I separated the Kyuubi from its chakra, Naruto answered with a smile. The fur ball is now in a new cage and its chakra core is now stored away from it. Check out what happens when I use it. Yellow chakra suddenly encased his body and took a shape reminiscent of the Rikudo Sennin, complete with the Jinchuriki seal and the Rikudo Sennin's necklace. Your connection to nature has increased, Haku commented. You actually did it, Yugito whispered with a smile. Now it's your turn, Yugito-chan, Kiribi told her. Just keep following the plan. Sit in the center and you will find your answer, he said as he motioned towards the solid stone in front of the waterfall. Yugito quickly sat down on the stone and closed her eyes. Really now, a doll like you shouldn't be playing ninja, a figure spoke from behind the waterfall. You might break a nail or something. I know you care about that moronic teammate of yours, but please, he'd never fall for a hothead like you. That angered Yugito to the point where she couldn't stay sitting back anymore. Show yourself. If you're going to talk to me like that, then I'll cut out your tongue and feed it to you. Yugito shouted in anger. All right. Know your true self. A single figure stepped forth looking exactly like Yugito. Only instead of her regular brown eyes, they were instead purple like her demon forms, and an almost cruel and sadistic smirk was plastered on her face. What's the matter? Scared? The fake Yugito sneered at her. No, I'm not. Yugito took a deep breath and then shot forward. Keizuki, she exclaimed as her arm ignited in fire. Keizuki, the fake muttered darkly, and her own arm was encased in fire also. The two clashed and the real Yugito was knocked back surprised. Call me Neko, come now, don't act so shocked, after all I'm you, so of course I have your abilities. Shut up, Yugito shouted and rushed back into the fray. They're all so pathetic, Neko sneered as she countered the oncoming assault. Especially Naruto, he can't understand you. He comes out of nowhere, from Konoha of all places, and steals the attention that is rightfully ours. He's loved by the villagers and ninja in Kumo, and he didn't even have to do anything to get it other than come here. I said shut up, Yugito shouted in anger. What's going on exactly? Naruto asked as he looked over at Yugito's sitting form. By sitting in front of the waterfall anyone can confront their innermost darkness, Kiribi explained. Right now Yugito is facing herself, and if she fails she will fall into the abyss. Then why didn't I go through this? Naruto inquired. Because Yami is no longer a part of you, Kiribi answered. That's comforting, Naruto muttered. Since Yami broke away from me, he cannot manipulate me anymore. But he won't stop until I'm dead, so, which one of us is the real Naruto? Gah. Yugito coughed and fell to the side. Yugito-chan, hold still, Haku said as she appeared at the blonde girl's side. I'm fine, Yugito told her as she caught her breath. I think I now know what Naruto feels like when he fights Yami all those time. It's like someone's walking over your grave. It sucks, I know, Naruto nodded. She knew everything about me, Yugito said through gritted teeth. She knew my jutsu, my tactics, even my secrets. Quote. So you're giving up? Naruto asked her. No. She turned to him and tried to speak, but the words just wouldn't come. If you're afraid, then you shouldn't be fighting at all, Naruto told her darkly. Quote. What do you know? Yugito yelled back and stood up. She rushed forward and grabbed him by the collar. How can you possibly understand how I feel? You come out of nowhere and are loved by everyone when I've been working my ass off for years to get where I am. Then why do you fight? Naruto questioned. Because Yugito stammered. I fight to protect those precious to me, Haku said from behind them. I fight so others don't have to. Naruto closed his eyes and thought on everyone he'd met and the friends he made in this village over the last 3 years. Yugito pushed herself away and ran. Yugito. Naruto called after her. Let her go, Kirby ordered firmly. She just needs time to sort things out herself. You can't do it for her. But, Naruto started. She'll be fine, have some faith in her, Kirby told him. Where's Haku? Naruto asked and blinked when he didn't find the ice user. Stupid, 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 Yugito muttered as she slowed down and fell against a nearby tree. Tears cascaded down her face as she thought back on everything that had happened over the last 3 years and her time on Team B. How much longer are you going to run away from your problems? Haku asked as she approached. Shut up. I don't want to hear it. Yugito shouted as she cried. I never thought you were a coward, Haku smiled sadly, causing the blonde girl to freeze. Naruto is right back there at the waterfall. You and I both know you just need to say 3 simple words to him and you might just be able to control your inner demons. I don't know anything anymore, Yugito sank down against the tree. But I'm not a coward, she gritted out. Then prove it, Haku's eyes hardened at the goad. Well, are you just going to sit there or are you going to finish what you started? I said shut up. Yugito yelled and lunged at the older girl. Kusanagi. The blade immediately slithered out from her sleeve and into her hand as she made to stab. Haku quickly parried with her Kubikiri Hoko and slid to a stop further away. How many more people have to suffer before you get up the courage to say those 3 words to him? Haku asked her. Shut up. You don't know anything. Yugito shouted as she charged forward and Haku moved to intercept. Clang. Naruto appeared between them, 2 of his 7 swords in his hands, and deflected both their weapons away from each other. 2 clones appeared behind the 2 kunoiki and hanged into restraints to hold them in place. What the hell is going on here? Naruto demanded. Silence. I'm not leaving until I get an answer, Naruto told the pair. Why are you 2 fighting? You want an answer? Yugito muttered and a second later lightning exploded from her body, destroying the hanged clone that restrained her. The hanged clone retraining Haku seemed to freeze, literally, before puffing out of existence, leaving the ice user standing with a sad smile on her face. Yugito. Naruto asked her. Yugito started. Oh, to hell with it, she muttered and rushed forward, capturing Naruto's lips with hers. Naruto's eyes widened and his mind shut down from the feeling, unable to compute what exactly was happening. When she pulled away, her face was flushed and she could see he was dazed from her actions. Haku stood off to the side with a smile and set the Kubikiri Hoko on her back. What exactly was that for? Naruto asked. I don't want to go back to that waterfall with any regrets, Yugito smiled shyly. I love you, there, she said it, finally. Naruto just stood there, unable to respond or even think of a response to something like that. He would be the first to admit she was attractive and he did care for her, probably more than he should considering their jobs, but he hadn't known she felt that way. I'm not expecting an answer right away, Yugito told him. Take your time, she said finally before she turned and started walking back towards the waterfall. While we're on the subject, I love you too, Haku brought up with a shy smile of her own. Say what? Naruto's face suddenly went beet red and he fainted from the revelations he was having today. Perhaps that was too much. Haku let out a giggle before heading off after Yugito. So you're back again, huh? It'll be the same as before though. You can't defeat me, Neko smirked from the waterfall. Trying to defeat you didn't get me anywhere, Yugito nodded. You just do whatever I do and it gets us nowhere. You can't get rid of me either, Neko sneered. I know you better than anyone, including yourself. Then. You already know, don't you? Yugito asked as she stood atop the water. What are you trying to say? Neko questioned. You know just how far I've let Naruto into my heart, Yugito replied. He is exactly like Kirby-sensei, exactly like Reikage-sama. He'll never accept our feelings, Neko countered. He will one way or another, Yugito shot back. If I was captured on a mission, I know he would be the first one to mount a rescue because that's just the kind of guy he is. You bitch, Neko gritted out. He will still never accept our feelings. Why do I need to keep repeating myself to you? Don't you get it yet? It's useless. Quote. Maybe you're right, Yugito admitted. But Kiribi-sensei, Haku, Reikage-sama, Naruto, I don't want to fail them. Neko seemed to drop to her knees and tried to steady her breathing. Why? After everything that's happened to us, why? She asked. Because of Naruto, he doesn't doubt himself, he doesn't sulk, Yugito answered then blinked. At least when it doesn't come to Yami, she added. Then what the hell am I? Neko shouted in anger. You are me. And I want you back, Yugito replied with a smile. Thanks for everything. Neko suddenly started to fall apart and disappeared after a moment entirely. Yugito stood up a moment later and sighed. It's done, she said and turned to the others. Good going, your training is really showing, Kiribi rapped. Now come with me. It's time you mastered the Nibi, he said before walking through the waterfall with the others right behind him. Will there be any chains this time? Naruto asked. No, that was just you and your Biju. Kiribi shook his head as they headed for the temple. They made their way to the white room on the other side of the temple and reached the center. Alright, let's begin, fools ya fools. Are you sure about this, Yugito? Naruto asked her. I'll be fine, Yugito nodded and sat down with Kiribi in front of her. First greet the Nibi, then break the seal, Kiribi told her as their fists met. Yugito took one deep breath and delved into her mind. Yugito's mindscape, Jinchuriki seal. Yugito opened her eyes and found herself in the dark graveyard which was her mindscape. She'd been here many times before and spoke with the Nibi face to face on the however this was different. She'd come here this time to fight and defeat the demon she had contained her whole life. She soon found herself in front of a large steel cage with the Nibi's flaming form watching her approach. Finally come to tame me, have you, kitten? Have you forgotten what I am? A long smirk appeared on Nibi's lips as she stood up. I know what you are and I wouldn't be here if I didn't think I can win. Let's just get this over with, Yugito said back. She lifted up her shirt and brought the key seal in her right hand to it. After twisting the seal, it started to distort until it completely collapsed and the cage in front of her broke apart. Freedom. I haven't tasted it in a long time, Nibi roared, blowing Yugito back and wiping out the graveyard around them. Now hold still, kitten, and I'll make your death quick and painless. Screw you, Yugito shouted back as she took to the air, flames propelling her from her feet. Maybe if we get Kyubi-kun and his host to join us, Nibi grinned and flung a wave of fire across the battlefield. Hi Nami, she roared as the flames washed over the landscape. Yugito shot straight up, narrowly escaping the wave of death and gathered lightning into her hand. Reikyu, she called out as she hurled the ball towards the monster cat. It struck Nibi dead on, however it simply passed through her and kept going. Damn it, she's made out of pure fire right now. I can't even touch her like this. And I don't know any Suitenjutsu to help out. Her eyes widened when she saw Nibi begin to gather her flames and compress them into a single sphere. Nekomata Guayu. The ball shot forward and Yugito accelerated away. When the ball hit the ground, it exploded in an expanding blast, washing over everything within range including Yugito. It's over, kitten, Nibi chuckled but stopped when she still couldn't leave her host's body. Now that hurt, Yugito groaned as the smoke cleared to reveal her battered form. To Nibi's surprise, she appeared to be relatively unharmed, though cuts and bruises now covered her skin. If I hadn't used the Raiten no Yoroi before the blast hit, then I would be dead right now. Why will you not just die? Nibi snarled and brought her tails down on her host. Suddenly several large tentacles sprang out from around them and grabbed the tails before they hit. More tentacles appeared from the void and quickly pinned Nibi to the floor. Not like that, you perverts. What is this? This chakra. Hachibi, Nibi growled out in anger. Now Yugito, do your best and you'll pass this test, Kiribi's voice echoed across the battlefield. Kusanagi, Yugito shouted and the sentient sword slithered into her hand. What is thy bidding, my master? Kusanagi asked simply. I need freedom, right now, Yugito replied and struck the blade into the ground. Ravaging queen of the forgotten land, I ask you to grant me power. The power to govern, the power to lead and the power to choose. I call upon you. Freedom. Ascendo. Light consumed her form as the two merged. The light died down a moment later to reveal the emerald armored knight with the oversized kusanagi in her hand. That knight will not save you now. Nibi roared and broke free of the tentacles before charging another fireball. Nekomata Guayu. She fired only for the tentacles to reshape into the Hachibi's head and swallow the fireball. I contained the explosion, but it's up to you to find your solution, Kiribi said finally as the Hachibi head dissolved. I'm going to beat you down and tear your chakra from you. I won't lose here, Yugito declared and readied her blade. She charged forward, surprisingly fast for such a large figure, and swung her sword at the demon. Nibi's tails parried the blow as the cat quickly moved round and struck from behind. Yugito was knocked to the ground but quickly rolled out of the way when Nibi followed up by trying to jump on her. The knight quickly stood once more, and when Nibi lunged again, Yugito batted her away with her sword. Despite being pure fire, it appeared that the Nibi had a physical presence while within her host's body, allowing for physical contact even though she could sustain no direct damage. Yugito had realized this too and immediately went on the offensive in order to hopefully overwhelm the demon cat. Nibi quickly backed off and charged another elemental-tailed beast ball at her mouth. It's not going to be that easy, kitten. Nekomata Guayu. The fireball exploded towards the knight a second later. Dotten. Iwa no Tate, Yugito whispered, and a barrier of stone formed between them. The fireball struck the wall and exploded a moment later, shattering the barrier and blowing the knight back, skidding across the void. Okay, that hurt, Yugito groaned and shook her head before she stood again. Nibi appeared from the smoke and lunged right at her, forcing Yugito to bring up her shield to defend. The blade caught the inside of the demon's mouth and forced the knight back several feet before Yugito was able to put up enough force to hold the cat back. Nibi's tails lashed out from behind the cat and pierced through the knight's armor, cutting through both shoulders and causing Yugito to gasp in pain. Nibi quickly shifted position and knocked the kusanagi away from the pair before lunging at the weakened knight. You're mine now, kitten. Nibi roared as she pushed Yugito down to the floor and made to bite at her helmet. Yugito was barely able to move her head out of the way and grab the demon cat's shoulders to hold it back. I'm not done yet, Yugito rasped. Oh yes you are. Nibi opened her mouth and started forming another fireball. Let's see you survive this one, kitten. Nekomata Guayu. This time the fireball didn't move, instead just detonating in one massive blast which washed over the area and shattered the white void into an endless dark abyss. When the blast died down, Nibi appeared to float alone in the darkness and howl to the heavens in victory. Her celebration didn't last long, however, as the white void appeared again and Nibi landed on the newly restored floor. That should have killed you, Nibi snarled. How did you survive? She questioned the emptiness around her. Dotten. Tsurugi no Chuchi. Yugito appeared from above and swung down with what looked like a giant stone sword many times the size of her own body. Nibi narrowly dodged, however she was quickly kicked away before she could recover and rolled back to her feet. Dotten. Chuchi Shiga. Yugito raised her hand a second later and unleashed a barrage of fast-moving rocks at the demon cat. Hi Nami. Nibi roared and a wave of fire vaporized the rocks before they reached their target and then rushed forward. Yugito saw this and hurled the stone sword at the demon cat. Nibi allowed the sword to pass through her before lunging at the seemingly repaired knight. Yugito brought her arms up to her side and clenched her fists, readying her gauntlet blades. When Nibi lunged at her, Yugito spun quickly, catching Nibi in the side with the weapons and sending her rolling across the ground. The tails lashed out again and swiped across the knight's chest, shattering the armor plate and sending Yugito to the ground. Yugito quickly got back to her feet as Nibi charged forward again and swung her tails. Echoing clangs sounded through the area as Yugito parried the first series of attacks from the cat, forcing her back several large steps. Just give up, kitten. You can't win. Nibi snarled as she started charging 3 menacing balls at her mouth and tails. Taju Nekomata Guayu. The 3 fireballs shot forward. Yugito quickly wrapped her cape around her as the fireballs struck, exploding and sending her flaming body to the ground. Any last words? Nibi asked as she slowly crept forward. Yeah, I've got a few for you, Yugito rasped back and slammed her hand on the floor. Dotten. Yamatatsu no Jutsu. The ground suddenly tore open and Nibi fell down through it. You're finished, she added, and the ground snapped shut. No. Nibi roared as she burst out from the ground. I won't lose here, not even to you, kitten. Yes you will, Yugito exclaimed as she charged forward, slashing the demon cat across the face and sending her to the ground. The knight quickly followed, jumping high into the air before coming down on top of her and impaling Nibby through the chest with the long kusanagi. It's over, Nibby, Yugito told her as her battered armor retracted and returned her to human form. No. Please no, Nibby whimpered as her chakra trailed off from her body and was absorbed by Yugito. Quote. I'm sorry, Yugito said with a sad smile. Thanks for everything, she added before banishing the Nibby back to her cage, minus her chakra core which formed into the shape of a large sphere hanging above her. It was over. Land of Lightning, Island of Death, Jinchuriki Sanctum. It's done, Yugito finally spoke and Naruto let out a sigh of relief. Nice one, little cat, Kiribi told her. Now come with me, you two. I'll teach ya both a new jutsu. Where to now? Yugito asked him as he led them out of the white room. This is the entrance to a different room, Kiribi explained as he led them into another white void-like room. Here you'll complete the final stage of your training. I'm gonna teach you both the strongest jutsu a Jinchuriki can use, alright. Are you ready? Yeah, we're ready, Naruto nodded. I have to learn to control the Kyuubi and make it my own, so what do you want us to do first? Bring it on, Yugito added. First you've got to turn into your Biju, Kiribi told him as his body expanded into the shape of the massive eight-tailed demon ox. Now it's your turn, so hurry on up, he added a moment later. Both Naruto and Yugito nodded at the command and quickly made a hand seal while concentrating on drawing their Biju's chakra. Two explosions of smoke engulfed the pair, but only Yugito transformed into the full Nibby no Nekomata, a large fire cat with two tails. Naruto on the other hand was still human-sized and looked almost like a chibi kitsune with a spiral on its belly and 9 tails. Quote. No dice, huh? It looks like only Yugito is able to fully manifest her Biju. Not surprising since they are actually friendly towards each other. Naruto on the other hand, Kiribi mused as Naruto's form retracted and he returned to normal, albeit looking exhausted. It didn't work. Naruto fell back onto the floor and tried to steady his breathing. After fighting the Kyuubi, meeting his mother and worrying over Yugito battling the Nibby, he was finally at his limit. I'm sure you'll find a way, Naruto, Yugito told him. Hey Naruto, Yugito, this is the Hachibi speaking. Not Kiribi, so listen closely to what I'm about to tell you. A different voice came out of the giant ox this time. That's confusing. Well, I suppose it'll be easier without the rhymes anyway, Naruto muttered. First I want to tell you the risk you're taking by using the Biju chakra form, the Hachibi explained. Risk? There's a risk when using it? Naruto asked in surprise. I thought we'd gotten past all of the risks when we finally tamed our Biju. If only it were that simple, the Hachibi scoffed. What risks are you talking about? Yugito asked as she returned to human form, having finally reached her limit also. A huge risk, the Hachibi responded. When you're using your Biju's chakra, your demons can grab onto your chakra because you've set aside your own chakra in order to use your demon's chakra. And of course, if you run out of chakra, then you will die. What? Then how does Kiribi-sensei do it? Naruto asked in disbelief. What was the point in doing this if we can't even use our Biju's power safely anyway? Yugito demanded. You've only taken your demon's chakra, you haven't actually tamed them yet. It used to be like that between Kiribi and me too. We used to try and take each other's chakra too, so don't you dare use shadow clones while using the Biju's chakra, Naruto. The Kyuubi will absorb the chakra of the clones you make and you'll die instantly, the Hachibi told them. Well, if we use our demon's chakra then we'll have plenty to use, Naruto commented. You fool, don't underestimate the Kyuubi. It will drain you dry, the Hachibi shot back. The Nibby is relatively friendly towards you, Yugito, so you don't have to worry about it stealing your chakra. However, it isn't the same with you, Naruto. If you constantly use the Kyuubi's chakra in battle then you will die. There's supposed to be a give and take agreement between the container and the Biju. But the Kyuubi's not the type for that, and there's a limit to how much chakra you can take from it. The risk, it's too high, Naruto shook his head at the thought. But if I can't do this then I can't use the jutsu you're going to teach us. Well, just forget about the Bijudama, the Hachibi told him. Concentrate on perfecting your own jutsus in that new form of yours. Bijudama. What's that? Naruto asked. It's simple, the Hachibi explained. You use your mouth to compress your chakra into a sphere and then spit it out. Wait, you mean the Imari? Naruto blinked. Imari. Yes, I had forgotten that's what Kyuubi calls it, the Hachibi confirmed. You can't do it unless you're in your Biju's full form. Anyway, I'm done talking to you too, he finished as he returned to human form. There's nothing to do but give up, Kirby spoke. You'll just have to use your own jutsu in that form and level up. I need my clones for Rasengan though, so I can't do it in that form, Naruto responded. To compress and spin chakra there has to be 2 of me, not to mention the futon Rasen Shuriken. When you take the Biju's chakra for a spin, it'll feel just like my limbs, Kirby rapped as he formed a set of octopus tentacles from his back. Let me try, Yugito took a deep breath and drew on the Nibi's chakra. A second later her body was engulfed in fire. No, she was the fire just like Nibi. She looked at her hand and saw nothing but flames, not even skin or even a skeleton. That feels odd, she commented. My turn, Naruto nodded and drew on the Kyuubi's chakra. Yellow fire covered his body and his new seal matrix became visible. Let's see if this works, Naruto said before 2 claws of chakra sprouted from his shoulders. Not bad for a first go, Kirby nodded. Now show me what you can do, Naruto, he finished. Okay. Naruto quickly brought his chakra claws to his hands and started spinning them while channeling chakra. Rasengan, he whispered as the chakra began to spin before shifting color from yellow to white and then to black before gathering into a solid sphere. What? Kirby though in alarm. Crap. Naruto cursed as the jutsu exploded, blowing him back several feet. That jutsu just now was just like the Bijudama, Kirby thought confused. Naruto, who taught you that jutsu? Huh, don't you remember? It was Ero Sennin, Naruto replied. He said it was created by my father back when he was Hokage. Why? The Yondaime Hokage, what a coincidence, Kirby suddenly grinned. Or is it fate? Either way it's a miracle. The Rasengan. It's exactly the same as the Bijudama, a jutsu created by observing the Biju. That's what the Rasengan is, it's almost like it was created to pass on to you alone, what luck. It's easy to do in Biju form but it's difficult to shape as a human. But if you add in the rotation for stability and you're done. How would the Yondaime Hokage even be able to study a Biju long enough to develop that jutsu? Yugito inquired. My mother, she was a Jinchuriki, Naruto responded. But, I don't think it'll be as easy as the Rasengan. The Biju's chakra consists of positive and negative chakra. It needs to be balanced, Kirby explained. When you compress the sphere, make sure to keep the ratio at 8.2 of negative and positive. That goes for you too, Yugito. Now give it a try. Right, the 2 teenagers nodded. Land of hot water, forest, hideout. Jiraiya of the Sannin, former shinobi of the now destroyed Konoha no Sato and the man who trained the legendary Yondaime Hokage had retreated to his hideaway in the land of hot water, far from the battlefield that was the land of fire. His spy network was still active, so he knew that both Iwa and Suna were still fighting over the former Konoha-controlled territory even after 3 long years of war. He knew that Kumo was quite happy letting them beat each other into the ground and hopefully destroy one another while Kiri was still recovering from the bloodline purges and the civil war instigated by the Yondaime Mizukage. He was thinking about paying a visit to Kiri, if for no other reason than to find out if it was true about the Godai Mizukage being a woman. The Konoha remnant as they were known had migrated to the land of hot water. Most of the civilians had left to seek work somewhere away from the war while the shinobi was struggling to survive without a home. He knew it was only a matter of time before they were hunted down and either killed or worse, captured by another village. The Hyuga clan especially was terrified of the idea that their Byakugan might fall into another's hands. They used to be the strongest clan of Konoha and now they were nothing more than traveling nomads. It was a textbook fall from grace if there ever was one, and they knew that without a home their future looked grim. We should head for Kumo, Jiraiya spoke up, catching everyone's attention. Kumo? Are you insane? Asuma questioned. You can't honestly be considering their offer, can you? They've offered sanctuary and more importantly, we're allowed to settle down in their village. Right now we need the help, Jiraiya said clearly. Hiashi-sama, Neji almost pleaded. I beg of you, we cannot seek help from those people. After what they did to my father, after what they did to your brother. Enough, Neji, Hiashi grunted. I understand what you are saying, but I must think of the clan first and put my personal feelings on the matter aside. Hinata-sama, Hyuga-ko shouted out as he watched his charge flee into the forest. Let her go, Hiashi said clearly. She still has much to learn, he muttered upon thinking of his daughter's 3rd birthday. Yes, Hiashi-sama, Ko bowed. There is another reason we should go to Kumo, Jiraiya spoke up. My new student resides there and he can vouch for us. The Raikage will listen to him. You mean the QB brat? A Chunin sneered. After what he did to Konoha. I always knew he would come back and destroy us if we let him live. We should have killed him when we had the chance and none of this would have happened. Say that again and I'll kill you myself. That boy is my godson, Jiraiya shot back. It wasn't him that attacked Konoha, more like a clone of him was the culprit. Kumo. Naruto-kun. Why? Why did this have to happen to us? Hinata cried as she sat down on a log. Hinata-sama. Neji asked as he appeared from the trees. And Neji-ni-san, please just leave me alone, Hinata pleaded. I always knew you were useless but I had no idea you would be this pathetic, Neji told her. It was fated that Konoha would be destroyed and it's only a matter of time before the elders place the mark on your head too. I'm not, Hinata stuttered. You keep pinning over that loser even after he destroyed all we ever cared about and for what? Out of some childish crush. It was fate that decided you would be alone forever and now you've finally realized that. You cannot change your fate, Neji sneered. You sure do like to listen to your self-talk, huh? A voice asked from behind him. Byakugan. Neji turned quickly only to find himself struck by a barrage of Juken strikes. Haka Hyaku Nijahachi Sho. The attacker exclaimed as he blew the Hyuga male back into a tree. En Neji-ni-san. Hinata shouted in surprise. Why you? Neji rasped out as his attack stood over him. A foot was planted on his chest and a flicker of blonde hair waved in the wind. It took me a while to find you but I did in the end, spoke Uzumaki Yami with white eyes looking down on him amused. Hello Hinata-chan. Let's have a little chat, shall we? En Naruto-kun. Hinata asked hesitantly. Sorry love but I'm not that fun-loving moron. Yami gave her a condescending smile. Fu-chan, would you please make sure she doesn't run away? He asked. Fu suddenly appeared behind Hinata and grabbed arms, pouring bugs into her clothes. If you move then I will kill you, Fu said simply. What do you want? Hinata stammered. From you. Nothing at all, from that dumb fuck Jiraiya. His life, Yami replied darkly. Fu-chan, knock them both out and then the real fun can begin. Wait, Hinata started only to suddenly fall unconscious along with Neji. Can't we just kill them? Fu whined. No, we're going to use them as bait to catch a much bigger fish, Yami responded. Now that we have the bait, our trap is set. Now let's see if that fuck-up who calls himself my godfather is worth his titles as a Sannin and a man. So let's call a vote, Inoiki spoke up. All in favor of going to Kumo raise your hand, everyone but the Hyuga clan raised their hands. Then it's settled, Jiraiya nodded. Where is Neji? Hiashi inquired when he didn't see his nephew. Neji went after Hinata Nikken, San, Hanabi spoke up. What? Hiashi started only for the booming sound of an explosion filled the air sending everyone on edge. What the hell was that? Inuzuka Kiba shouted out. It was an explosion, obviously, Tenten responded. Byakugan, Hiashi muttered as his eyes pulsed. It came from the direction of Hinata. He was suddenly running through the trees with Jiraiya at his side and several of shinobi close behind. Now that just isn't fair, a girl's voice said playfully as Fu appeared in front of them forcing them to stop. Only Jiraiya of Sannin may pass. The rest of you will have to play with me, she smiled. Out of the way girl, Ko said as he rushed forward and struck her with a Juken strike. Haka Hasengeki. She slammed through a tree before falling several feet. You need to try harder than that, Fu told him as she jumped back up before they could continue. How could you? Ko started. My body is virtually invulnerable in this state, Fu explained. You physically can't hurt me. And time is running out for the little Hyuga heiress and her bitch of a cousin. Go on ahead Jiraiya-sama, Hiashi said clearly. I will be along shortly once I've dealt with this trash. Alright, Jiraiya nodded before jumping past the Nanabi Jinchuriki and continuing on ahead. Who wants to play first? Fu asked cheerfully. Out of my way, Hiashi demanded coldly as he lunged forward. Haka Rokujuyan Sho. He called out as he struck her with a fast-paced barrage of Juken strikes. Everyone dropped down to the ground and stood in what seemed to be a clearing. I thought I told you that won't work on me, Fu chuckled as she rose to her feet once more. What are you? Hiashi questioned. No normal kunoichi should be able to get back up after taking that kind of attack. And you don't even look hurt at all. Now that would be telling, Fu said cheekily. Oh, and you've got a bug on your shoulder, she said with a smile. What? Hiashi demanded as he was suddenly swarmed by a large amount of bugs. Haijutsu, Mushidama. Fu exclaimed as the bugs grabbed onto him. Hiashi-sama. Several Hyuga called out. Hakusho Kaiten. Hiashi exclaimed as he spun, creating a spinning barrier of chakra which shredded the bugs. That was. Aberame Shibi mused. An Aberame Haijutsu, yes, Fu nodded with a smile. So. You are the Jinchuriki of the Nanabi no Kabutamushi, Shibi declared to everyone's surprise. So you've heard of me. Fu's smile widened. Yes, I'm the Nanabi Jinchuriki. My village, Takagakure no Sato, was attacked and destroyed by Oto, so I had nowhere to go but with the first guy to offer me a way out. Who? Shibi inquired. Now that would be telling, Fu teased. Then we'll make you talk, Inoiki said as he stood up and made a familiar hand seal. Dad. No. Ino shouted, but it was already too late. Shintenshin no Jutsu. Fu's Mindscape, Jinchuriki seal. Yamanaka Inoiki opened his eyes and found himself in what seemed to be a prison with empty cells littering the walls. It was a dark and disgusting place he had found himself in. He could see red liquid running across the ground and knew its demonic origin would be located at its source. He soon found himself in front of a large cage with a vacuum-sealed door and the red liquid leaking out from the sides. On the front of the door was a wheel with a tag placed on it with the word, seal, written in kanji. Arrogant little mortal. You dare to enter my presence uninvited. Leave now or face my wrath. The Nanabi snarled from behind the cage bars. You are the Nanabi no Kabutamushi. Inoiki trailed off. His own experiences with entering the mind of Naruto when he was younger was different and yet similar than this particular Jinchuriki. The mindscape clearly depicted a harsh and lonely life with the demon trapped at the center. However, unlike Naruto, who didn't know about the Kyuubi, this Jinchuriki clearly knew about the Nanabi and had remained human, for lack of a better term, from a much younger age. He idly wondered if things could have turned out differently if Konoha had actually accepted Naruto. It didn't matter now though. You dare to enter my head, Mind Walker? Fu asked darkly as she appeared behind him. How can you? Inoiki started in surprise. Be gone. Fu shouted and the invader was blasted out of the mindscape. Kill them all. I want them turned into a smear on the countryside. The Nanabi roared. Finally we agree on something, Fu smirked up at the demon beetle. Land of hot water, forest battlefield. Inoiki fell back into his daughter's arms as he clutched his forehead and pain pulsed through his mind in waves. Are you alright, Daddy? Ino asked, almost frantic. I'm fine, Inoiki rasped. She threw me out. It wasn't her demon, it was only her. What does that mean? Chooser asked, looking over at his wounded friend. It means I have full control of my demon. Fu smiled as the ground began to rumble and the clouds above them started to darken. Let's play, she whispered as red chakra exploded from her body. It wrapped around her and completely covered her before an antler of chakra sprouted from her forehead and 3 tails of chakra sprouted from her spine. Come here. She jumped at them at a speed that caught them completely off guard. Her hands, claws, slashed through Hyuga Ko's face with one strike and sending the now deceased body down to the ground a few feet away. Fu immediately turned and roared, sending out a large shockwave and blowing away a number of former Chunin and Jonin. Shikaku and several other Nara clan members connected their shadows and stopped her from moving. Kijimane no Jutsu, Shikaku whispered. Now, he shouted a second later. Buban Biker no Jutsu. Chooser and Chuji exclaimed as they descended on the Nanabi Jinchuriki and punched down with their enlarged fists. Did we get her? Tenten asked the question as the dust cleared. Of course not. Fu shouted back as the chakra around her started to solidify. It quickly changed into a crimson shroud of power with a black mask over her face and 5 tails swishing behind her. Kill them. Kill them all. The Nanabi shouted in anger. Fu roared as bones started to form over her body and a second later she disappeared. She reappeared in the sky above them and swung down with her fists. The impact with the ground released a shockwave hundreds of feet high and blew away everyone in the clearing and the surrounding area. All that was left was a crater about half a mile across where there had been trees and ninja only moments ago. Ino coughed as she came to and pushed herself onto her knees. She looked around and saw nothing but destruction around her. Rubble was clustered all around with fallen bodies of people she only knew in passing, but when she spotted her father buried under a chunk of rock she quickly ran over to him. Hold on, Dad, Ino said frantically as she kneeled down at his side. No, Iniaki coughed. Ino. You have to. Get out of here. Now, before things get any worse. I'm not leaving you here, Ino said back as she tried to push the rock off of her father. Ino, please, go, Inoiki pleaded. For once in your life, please, listen to me. Ino. But, Ino stammered and the noise of a rock falling caught her attention. It was Shikamaru. Come on, Shikamaru said as he grabbed her arm and pulled. But, my dad, Ino protested. If we stay here then we're dead. Shikamaru shouted at her. Come on. We've got to get the hell out of here. Go. Ino. Inoiki told her as the two fled into the forest at the edge of the crated rubble. Well, isn't that sweat? Fu's voice purred as she landed only a few feet away from him. Don't worry, they don't concern us. I was just supposed to hold you all here, but when you went into my mind you really pissed me and Nanabe off. What do you have to say for yourself? Screw you, Inoiki rasped out his last words. You're a little too old for me, Fu smirked and opened her mouth. Chakra quickly gathered from the air and compressed into a solid ball of black chakra. Bijudama. The ball exploded right in the Yamanaka clan head's face and consumed the world in light. Miles away, Ino and Shikamaru were carrying a wounded Tenten and Chuji when they saw a bright light engulf the horizon where behind them. This was accompanied by a massive shockwave and the sound of a deafening explosion forcing them to the ground. They looked back and saw only smoke rising up from where they had fought that monster. Back on the battlefield, Fu smirked as she gazed over the mile-long scar on the earth she had just created. The wide cavern was like a smooth line straight stretching from her current position to the edge of the world as a monument to her new power. When Yami had told her that he could teach her how to control her Biju, she had been hesitant, however that soon changed when she found out that his captured Sharingan from that nobody Uchiha Sasuke can control even the most violent of beasts if it were in the right hands. Yami had entered her mindscape and ripped the Nanabe's darkness from her with his Sharingan, allowing her to tame the beast and giving Yami the ability to evolve the Sharingan into the Mangekyo Sharingan. A useful tool for what he had in mind, what she would help him do to the world which had forced her into this life. Mokutan, Jubaku Iso, suddenly a tree shot up behind her and grabbed her with its branch. More branches quickly grew from the tree and pulled her back, restraining her. You'll pay for what you've done here, said a man wearing an Anbu mask as he appeared in front of her with several other Anbu. This is a bastardized version of Mokutan ninjutsu, nothing more than a copy of its true power, the Nanabe spoke in disgust. This has become boring, kill them and finish this. Hey. Fu laughed as the red chakra started to bulge against the restraints. I don't know who you are, but you don't know what you're getting yourselves into. This is a war, but not any war you or the rest of the shinobi villages can understand or fight against. You're nothing. Konoha is nothing. Kiri, Suna, Iwa, Kumo, they're all nothing compared to what's coming. This is a war between the two major factions of the world, good and evil. Compared to them too, even I am nothing but a child, Fu continued laughing as her body expanded. Tenzo Taicho. What do we do? An Anbu asked the Shodai Hokage knockoff. I'm trying to hold her down. Tenzo strained only for Fu to completely break free of her restraints. It's over. Fu roared as seven tails formed and her body expanded fully into the demon beetle she contained. Die. Bijudama. She gathered chakra at her mouth and fired it as one massive sustained beam. Silence. Land of hot water, forest, hideout. Jiraiya heard the distant sounds of explosions behind him, followed soon by a blast of light and then silence. Guilt and anxiety rushed through him when he realized that something awful must have happened back there. He shook himself and pushed on forward, intent on rescuing the Hyuga heiress whom had clearly been captured and was being held by their enemy. That's far enough. Ero Sennin, a familiar voice chuckled, causing him to stop. I've heard about you, Jiraiya said as he looked up and saw a man who looked just like his current student. You're Naruto's clone, or something close to one. Your name is Yami, right? That's me. Yami smirked as he pulled a barely conscious Hinata and Neji to his side. You want these too? He asked with a knowing smile. What do you want? Jiraiya asked the question. It's simple really. Hand over the key you have in your possession and I'll release these two, unharmed. I promise you that, and you know that I always keep my promises, Yami replied. You're not Naruto, Jiraiya glared. How can I know that you won't just kill them the moment I give you the key? How do you even know what the key is? No, I'm not Naruto. But he and I are the same no matter how much either of us hates to admit it. The only difference between me and him is that I refuse to answer to anyone but me. As for how I know about the key, that's a secret. Now, hand it over, Yami gestured. Quote. Fine, Jiraiya said finally and formed a single hand seal. Kuchio's no jutsu, he thought as a red-black toad and a large scroll was released from his mouth. Jiraiya, what do you think you're doing summoning me? Garatora demanded. So that scroll contains the key? Yami asked. Who are you? Garatora asked rudely. Silence lower life form, Yami sneered back. You are of no concern to me, give me the scroll now. No way am I turning it over to you, Garatora shot back. Then these two will die, Yami shrugged and gestured towards the two Hyugas. What the devil is going on, Jiraiya? Garatora asked his summoner. I don't have time to explain, just give him the scroll, Jiraiya responded. You're sure? The toad asked. Yes, Jiraiya nodded. Quote. All right, Garatora nodded reluctantly and threw the scroll to the ground in front of them. Thank you, Yami smiled. Now catch. He immediately pushed Hinata and Neji off of the tree branch and down towards the ground, forcing Jiraiya and Garatora to jump after them. Got it. Yami laughed as he grabbed the scroll. Mangekyo Sharingan, he whispered and his eyes turned black with an overlapping red design. Kamui, he whispered and the scroll in his hands was sucked into what he liked to call a black hole. What did you do? Jiraiya demanded when he saw the scroll disappear. I'm saving it for later, Yami shrugged and turned back to him. Now there's just one loose end to tie up. Can you guess what it is? I thought you said you weren't going to hurt them if I gave you the scroll. Jiraiya narrowed his eyes. Them. No. You on the other hand. Yes, Yami sneered. Amaterasu, he exclaimed and black flames exploded towards the Gama Senin. Fukahoin, Jiraiya quickly pulled out a scroll and sealed the flames away before they could touch him. So it's true, you really did steal the Uchiha's bloodline. But how are you able to use the Mangekyo? To unlock the Mangekyo you have to kill your closest friend, Yami smiled. The closest thing to a friend I have ever had was the Kyuubi, someone Naruto stole from me during our last battle a year ago. That sense of loss, it was enough to awaken his true power, or at least a bastardized version of it. What are you talking about? Jiraiya questioned. What do you want exactly? What is it you're after? I seek naught but blood and carnage, Yami answered. Though there is something else I want, something only one other person has ever had, these eyes I have acquired are nothing more than a means to an end. The Kyuubi and the rest of the Biju are the same to me. What do I want? That's simple. I want to be complete. What do you mean? Jiraiya questioned further. Do you want Naruto? It doesn't matter now, there is something else I want and I know you're not going to give it to me willingly, Yami shook his head. And what's that? Jiraiya inquired. Your head, Yami snarled and lunged forward with his fist covered in lightning. Chidori. Why do you want me? What did I ever do to you? Jiraiya shouted back as he moved to counter with a spinning ball of energy in hand. Rasengan. The two attacks clashed in the center and shockwaves rippled through the forest around them. A loud booming sound filled the air and both combatants were blown away from each other. Jiraiya struck the side of a still-standing tree while Yami landed against a nearby cliff edge and groaned. You were never there for me, for us. Yami ranted in anger as he stood once more. You left us despite being our godfather, despite the fact that you were our father's sensei. You left us alone surrounded by the hatred of others. You didn't care and now you see before you the results of your neglect. I was tracking Orochimaru. Sandaime-sama said you would be okay. Jiraiya reasoned. And you believed that old fossil. Yami snarled back. That bastard took away everything from me. My father, my life, my family, my childhood. He may have been a brilliant leader but he was an absolute idiot when it came to me. He chose not to tell me about the Kyuubi or my father because he was afraid that I might leave the village. He was proven right when we got the hell out of that nightmare 3 years ago and headed for Kumo. And you're even worse. At least he was thinking of the safety of his home and people. You just left and didn't even pay me a visit. Fuck it, I haven't even met you before today and I wish I never did. I know we've made some mistakes, Jiraiya started. Some mistakes. You fucked everything up from the start. To hell with the pedophilic snake. He's dead. Deal with it. Yami snarled back. And that was because of Naruto, not you. He fixed another of your mistakes. Why should he have to? Why should I have to? Why should we have to prove anything to you of all people? In Konoha it should have been improving themselves to us, not the other way around. They disregarded everything the Uzumaki clan, the Senju clan and my father stood for, and now they've experienced the consequences of their actions. And who are you to judge them? Jiraiya demanded with anger. I am the one who will establish peace and order, Yami said mockingly. What? Jiraiya's eyes widened at the words. The Rikudo Sennin, he was an interesting man, Yami commented. Strong, powerful, and he had a will of fire that would just not back down. You ask me who I am. I'll tell you. Naruto and I are the Rikudo Sennin incarnate. What? Jiraiya asked in surprise. Nicely done on training my other half, Yami smiled. A revolution is coming. Ero Sennin and Naruto and I are going to be in the center of it. The day when he and I finally end our personal war will be the day that the world will either be saved or destroyed forever. Quote. So Naruto is the child of prophecy, Jiraiya mused. No, he isn't, at least not completely, Yami corrected. He and I together are the child of prophecy whom will bring about the revolution of this world. Unfortunately for you, you won't be here to see that new world come into existence. We'll see about that, Jiraiya said as he formed a series of hand seals. Kuchio's no jutsu. He slammed his hand down on the ground and a seal matrix spread out on the surface. An explosion of smoke signified the summoning of a large red and black toad wielding a Sakazuki-like shield in its left hand and a Samumata in its right. These tears of blood, overflowing with rage. I went from Sannin to Sage. The most holy hermit sage of Myobokus and toads. I am Jiraiya-sama, orc, he sang and danced and fell on his ass when the toad beneath him moved slightly. You're an idiot, Yami scoffed. Hey, Gameiken-san. How often must I ask you not to bob at a crucial moment? Jiraiya asked the giant toad. I am ungraceful, Gameiken responded simply. Enough playing around. I'm going to kill you now, Yami declared. Dark Knight of the Fallen Kingdom, I humbly ask that you grant me power. The power of the forgotten, the power of destruction and the power of reincarnation. I call upon you, Crusader. Ascendo. A blinding light erupted from the Onigin in the blonde's hand. When the light died down, the Black Knight Crusader stood and expanded his wings. Let's start, shall we? Yami chuckled as he took to the air. Against someone like him I can't afford to play by ear, Jiraiya told his summon. We'll be going all out from the start. I'm using Sage mode, he finished as he rubbed ink onto his face below his eyes. What? You don't mean? Gameiken asked. Yes indeed. I'm summoning the elders, Jiraiya confirmed. So buy me some time. Ungraceful as I am, I shall try, Gameiken agreed. Kaiten, Senpu Hosenka. Yami exclaimed as his wings expanded and fire shot out towards the toad. Gameiken raised his shield, however the blast blew him back several feet as the flames engulfed the area around the three. Had enough yet? Yami taunted. So this is the power of a knight. It's like fighting Hanzo, Jiraiya thought. His actions and motions are calculated down to the number of water drops on his neck. I don't understand how this can be though. How does he know the secrets of this world? How does he know my secrets? It's almost like he has an inside source of information. But where is he getting his information from? Come here. Yami shouted as flew forward with his sword raised at his side. Gameiken swung round and tried to gut him as the blade came in and connected with the side of the Samumata. Kaiten, Hishishi no Jutsu. The Onigin caught fire and in a slow but steady motion cut through the Samumata. Oh no, Gameiken gulped as his Samumata was cut clean in half, forcing him to jump away. Hurry Jiraiya. Go home Gameiken Dono. I've got it from here. Jiraiya shouted as he jumped up. Good luck, Gameiken said finally before he disappeared in a puff of smoke. Dairo Sennin. Yami exclaimed as he swung down with his sword on the Gama Sennin. There was an explosion of smoke from the impact and dust flew everywhere, followed the sound of a deafening boom that echoed through the air. What? Yami blinked when he felt his sword get pushed back, forcing him to take several steps back. Lad, why do you always have to summon us such rowdy places? A new female voice questioned. I can't fault Buntaver yelling at ya. She added. Now Shima, let MB. Another male voice echoed as the dust began to clear. I'm sure Jiraiya boy has done got his reasons. I do apologize for the circumstances, Jiraiya told the voices. Boss mom, he greeted. But lad, I thought ya hated this form with passion, the male voice commented. Saying it would make you unpopular wit, da ladies. Well, beggars can't be choosers, Jiraiya returned. For my opponent possesses one of the knights of the Rikido Sennin and the bloodlines of Konoha and probably others too. So our opponent is Crusader Ha. I've only heard legends about him, the male voice mused. Yes, so please lend me your aid for just a little while, Jiraiya requested. Shall we begin? He asked as the dust completely cleared to reveal his form. He was hunched over and had two small but elderly toads embedded in his shoulders as well as webbed hands and feet. His pupils were goat-like and there was a red ring around his eyes as his nose enlarged. Just what the hell are you? You're not a normal shinobi even by my standards, Yami asked curious. I'm just a human, Jiraiya answered truthfully. This power you wield, it reminds me of Naruto's burst mode, Yami mused. It's almost as if the two sides of the same coin. Ya gotta start being able to go into sage mode by yourself, Jiraiya boya, the male toad on his left shoulder spoke up. Well, I'm still a babe in swaddling clothes compared to you two, Jiraiya commented. Yami. Let me introduce you to Shima and Fukasaku. The toad elders of Myobokuzen. Now hold still, Shima spoke up as her tongue exploded from her mouth towards the Black Knight. Zesenbaku. She echoed as the tongue quickly wrapped around Yami's arms and shoulders. She's fast, Yami thought as he tried to break free. I'm next, Fukasaku said and his tongue shot out a moment later. Zesenzen. He exclaimed as the tongue seemed to cut into the Black Knight's armor. His armor is pretty dense, this ain't working. Let's try this then, Jiraiya smirked as the toad's tongues retracted. He jumped forward and concentrated his chakra into a familiar sphere that spun in the palm of his hands. Cho Udama Rasengan, he exclaimed as the chakra ball enlarged to twice the size of his own body. He's too fast, Yami thought as he wrapped his wings around himself just as the attack struck him. The jutsu detonated in a massive explosion, hurtling trees away from them and scarring the earth itself as the blast reduced everything within a mile to a crater. When the blast died down, Jiraiya stood in the center of the destruction, feeling the scrapes and cuts he received from his own jutsu, but they quickly healed thanks to his sage chakra's accelerated healing. I think we got Fukasaku said with a smile. I wouldn't be so sure about that, Yami's voice echoed across the battlefield, surprising the three. His body was now that of human again. He stood unharmed with a set of spiritual bones wrapped around him and his eyes now that of a red helix. What is that? Jiraiya questioned. It's called Susanoo, it's one of the Uchiha clan's stolen abilities, Yami chuckled darkly. But what can you expect from that clan, huh? They always lie, con and cheat their way to the top. Even the QB recognizes their taint on this world, my world. You're insane, Jiraiya said simply. Maybe so, but I won't stop until I get what I want, Yami responded. And right now I want your head nailed to my bedroom wall. Jiraiya boy, Fukasaku shouted. I know, Jiraiya nodded and formed a hand seal. Senpo, Gomen. The sage and both toad elders exclaimed as they unleashed a massive blast of oil, wind and fire at the shadow. Of crap, Yami muttered as he brought up his hands to defend. The flames washed over him like lava, consuming him and burying him in a whirlpool of oil and fire. Did we get this time? Shima asked as the blast died down. Probably not, Fukasaku replied as their opponent became visible again. Yami stood atop the burning oil, still encased in those spiritual bones with that same damned grin on his face. Damn. Under these conditions where my ninjutsu are being nullified, at this rate, even in sage mode I'll be killed. He reflects Naruto personally, so is Naruto this strong too? Jiraiya thought worriedly as he started at the unmoving shadow. Any ideas? He asked the two toads. If neither taijutsu nor ninjutsu are gonna fly, then the only thing left is genjutsu, Fukasaku suggested. But I'm a dud when it comes to genjutsu, Jiraiya responded. No way. Not gonna do it, Shima shouted out. Don't be selfish, Ma, Fukasaku told her. What are you talking about? Jiraiya asked, confused. It's a duet, Fukasaku replied. Our most powerful genjutsu is a jutsu where we confound an opponent's sense of hearing with a song. Once they fall under the effects of the jutsu, then it's our victory. Amaterasu, Yami exclaimed, and black flames erupted from his eyes. Oh shit, Jiraiya cursed and pulled out a scroll. Fukahoin, the flames were quickly pulled into the seal before they could strike the Gamma Sennin, and he sighed in relief after checking to see if he'd missed any. We got him, Fukasaku said after a moment and started singing along with Shima. Magen, Gamarinsho. Yami stopped as he suddenly felt dizzy and the world around him started to distort. What? He thought as he felt his body go numb and no longer under his control. It's a genjutsu. His eyes widened in realization as he looked around and saw that he was in some kind of cubic barrier guarded by four-toed samurai. You are inside a genjutsu paralysis that binds your psyche, Jiraiya explained. Now you won't be able to move. You'll pay for this Ero Sennin. Yami shouted in anger. Quote. Naruto is the child of prophecy, you're not him anymore, Jiraiya sighed in acceptance. Goodbye, Yami. The world around them faded. Jiraiya stood over Yami's corpse, a large stone sword stuck through the shadow Uzumaki's chest. It's done, Jiraiya said finally as he stood up and backed off. Shima coughed and Fukasaku sneezed a moment later. Are you both all right? He asked them worried. The genjutsu song hurts the throat, lad, Fukasaku strained. It's a real pain keeping tempo with Pa, this just ain't easy at all, Shima added. My apologies, Jiraiya told him as he started walking away. Please take your rest now. You both deserve it. Not bad Ero Sennin, as expected of a member of the Sannin, a dark and distorted voice said from behind him. What? Jiraiya shouted and turned swiftly. A fully recovered Yami swung up with the Onagen and sliced the Gamma Sennin's left arm right off. Jiraiya backed off, trying to get out of range of that sword and clutching his wound. Lad, your arm. Shima shouted in shock. I know. Jiraiya rasped. What's going on? He was dead. His had no pulse and we stuck a sword right through his heart. He should be done for. Fukasaku shouted. I'll admit you almost had me there, Yami nodded with a smirk as he hefted his blade onto his shoulder. If I were human you would have got me for good that time. But I'm not human. I'm a demon, also Konoha has made me out to be. There is only one weapon that can actually kill me for good, well until I just reform and come back. Naruto's Raijin is the only thing that can kill me and make me stay dead for more than a few minutes. Are you saying? Jiraiya's eyes widened at his words. No matter how many times I'll be killed I'll just keep coming back stronger and stronger until you're dead. Even Naruto knows that, though admittedly it takes longer to reform after a fight with him. That's why I keep fleeing after from him when I'm in a losing battle, Yami shrugged with a grin. Oh, and you let your guard down, Sensei. An explosion of smoke behind the Gamma Sennin caught him by surprise. What? Jiraiya turned as he heard the chirping of 1,000 birds. Chidori, Yami exclaimed as he drove his lightning-covered fist through the sage's chest. Jiraiya boy, Fukasaku shouted in worry as Yami pushed them back into the trunk of a nearby tree. Game over, Yami whispered with a sinister grin on his face. Pa. Ma. Run now. Naruto, tell Naruto, everything. Jiraiya rasped out as Yami withdrew with a snort. And so ends the gallant Jiraiya, Yami sneered. You were a strong opponent and a good teacher. But you were useless godfather when it came to us. Run. Now. Jiraiya gasped for air as Yami's eyes turned red once more and the two-toed elders disengaged from the hermit's shoulders. Amaterasu, Yami whispered and black flames engulfed Jiraiya's body, disintegrating him in a matter of seconds. Jiraiya boy, Shima shouted as her husband pulled her away. Come on Ma. We have to get out here. Fukasaku yelled as the two toads fled into the nearby river. Yami ignored them and simply stared silently at the burning flames. He stood there without a word as his partner, Fu, dropped down beside him after an hour had passed. Yami finally allowed the flames to die down and he sighed in relief that another one of the people had wronged him had paid the ultimate price for their actions. Quote. Are you all right? Fu asked him worried. I'm fine, Yami said roughly and turned away. Come on, we're leaving, it's almost time. You need to talk about it if something's bother you, Fu told him. Quote. I don't need anyone, Yami responded. I've never needed anyone before and I don't need anyone now. Not even me. She asked hesitantly though he did not answer. How did you know about this? About everything. She asked him next. There are only 2 female Jinchuriki, Yami replied. My Onagen recognized that both of you would be the wielders of the 2 of 5 swords of the Rikido Sennin while Naruto and I would wield 2 more. That girl that has allied herself with my other half was chosen because she embodies balance in its truest form, neither good nor evil. She is pure, that is all. Then what about the key? And everything else? Fu inquired. Quote. A piece of my parents was sealed in me the day I was born, just the same as the Kyuubi, Yami answered. I remember everything, even the Kyuubi. With this key I now have access to the Kyuubi's Yang chakra. Now all we have to do is wait for Naruto to awaken his true power, and then I'll take it from him. Once I have that power, I can finally execute the final stage of my plan, Yami said clearly. Pandora's box. Fu whispered, worried. It was a rather dangerous artifact which held all of the evil in the world, so that left the question. What was inside that box that Yami wanted so badly? That will be it for this video. If you want more, comment down below, like, subscribe. And see you guys later.